when the temperature is close to zero most nights over the winter time. Then Britain's going to be a clean energy superpower. I just thought, oh, give us a break. This is just, why are we going to be a superpower? Why can't we just have this clean energy? Cheap, clean energy. Forget the superpower. Why are we competing with other people? You know, it's the cost of the electric. Is it going to be cheaper? Because if you get rid of the gas, then you've got to have a heap more windy mills, or you've got to have some sort of battery backup for all these windy mills. Or you've got to try and build more hydro. I had a power station up on the west coast of Scotland. I think it was of5 or somewhere, where they used off-peak energy to pump water up to a reservoir, and when they needed peak, they let it come back down again. It's a pretty good idea. But you would need a load of those, or you would need an absolute huge number of windy mills. Or you build more trees. Sorry, recyclable. They've got a term for it. Didn't call it trees. It's these wood chips that they get from Canada. But need coal. Need cheap coal. They need cheap gas from the Nuggies or from the Ruskies, unless the Ukrainian thing gets sorted out and we become best pals with the Ruskies again. But what's the cost of it? Didn't mention it. The problem with all of this stuff is a lot of the tech is foreign. I missed out nuclear power stations. How remiss of me. The electric power stations, fleet power stations, apparently, and you've got a load of them, are basically all owned by EDF, Energy Defense. The French government has a big share of EDF. You've got the tech. I believe there was Chinese companies going to do one of the ones down south, Sizewell, or one of the ones down there. I'm not too sure if the Chinese are still doing it or whether EDF's taken over. So yeah, you could have more nuclear power stations. Let's suck that one up. You kind of build one in less than about 10 or 12 years. Unless you go and have a word with Bill Gates and get one of his little mini nuclear ones. That might happen. Do people want nuclear? There's a problem though with the nuclear, because quite a lot of the rods for the nuclear stuff, it comes from Russia, and we're sanctioning them. So there might be a world shortage in nuclear stuff. So we're back to the windy mills. You mentioned Putin, President Putin in the war. Basically just said it's bad, got a big cheer. You didn't mention how the war had started, didn't mention the conflicts before that. He sort of zoomed past it and basically said, you know, Putin has stopped the gas and the oil. Well, that's fundamentally untrue. Somebody, follow the money, you can draw your own conclusions, blew up 3 of the 4 big gas pipelines in Nord Stream, in the Baltic. And the EU, in the UK, in the US have sanctioned Russia and won't buy the oil or gas. Places like India buy it. Places like China buy it. Other places buy it. I understand what he's trying to get at. If Putin hadn't invaded Ukraine, then that gas would have still been available. But it has been a decision by the British government, by the US government, by the EU government to not buy the gas. The gas is there available to be bought. I think it's unfair to blame Putin. I think the war's terrible. I want them to have a peace. But I'm just thinking, he gets a cheap cheer though. Yay. And then he went on to the formula. And obviously, like I say, he's had a sit down with Accenture or Boston Consulting or one of these other places that do this stuff. Or he's just went into WH and bought himself a few books on total productivity management and total management, whatever. They all tell you the same thing. Says we're going to have a formula for it. Okay. It's going to be in 3 bits. First bit's going to be a measurable goal. Okay. We've heard these measurable goals before. Gordon Brown had like these sort of things that you had to, these tests before we could join the Euro. Basically, it meant if Gordon Brown decided that we could. Because they were so airy-fairy, so malleable, you could get them to mean anything you wanted. So it's a measurable goal. I would say, okay, it's a measurable goal. Who's going to measure it? Is it going to be an independent body measure this? You know, like the Olympics or like the Guinness Book of Records. You know, you've got to submit your claim. Second part, he says it's going to be building blocks of a clear strategy. Basically means sub goals. Building blocks to get to the big goal at the end. We'll use the space analogy. The goal at the end is land on the moon and bring them safely back to Earth. That's your goal. That's your mission. All of the building blocks are the Mercury program so that you can test the rockets, the Gemini program so you can do the space docking, the rendezvousing and stuff like that. The Apollo program, need the rockets. Same again. The lunar module so that you can test it. Fly into the moon and back so you can prove that that can be done. Flight in lunar orbit. Docking in lunar orbit. These are all the building blocks if you want to do that. So that's what he's saying. We need building blocks and a clear strategy. And the third thing he says is that has to be credible. The first steps have to be credible. I just thought it doesn't make sense, but okay. He says, and there's got to be a long-term plan. Okay. He says, going back to the energy malarkey, he says, like, we could insulate 19 million homes. Okay. The question would be, why aren't they insulated now? Okay. People haven't got the money. Okay. I think there's been grants over the years to insulate your home. I think it must be nearly 20 years ago I got something through. And it was, and we decided to fill the thing up with them little beads or whatever. Most new houses have got insulation, so we're talking about old properties. He didn't say who's going to pay. Is the government going to shell out and insulate these 19 million homes? Is that a good use of taxpayer money? Some people would say yes. Some people would say no. Don't know. He says we could train heat pump fitters. Left to people's own devices, very, very few people, in my opinion, will go heat pumps. they're inefficient, they're ridiculously expensive. The performance that you get out of them, that I've read about, is very low. You need to keep big garden. It'd be better if your garden was in Spain, but I suppose laying the sort of the plastic tubing all the way over up beside the M1 up in Newcastle is a bit much. The temperature differentials, take a look. You're looking at the temperature differential of the ground sub wherever it is, 3 feet down or wherever you put it, to what the ground is at the top. It's not going to be like 100 degrees. You know, it's only going to be a couple of degrees. Yeah. Your fan's got to be going on your heat pump all the time to dissipate. It's like a reverse refrigerator. So we can hire a load of people to insulate them. So basically they'll be nationalised if the government's going to pay for it. So we'll have hundreds of people running around insulating people's lofts. You know, the Antiques Roadshow, maybe find a few paintings and stuff like that. We're going to do that, and we're going to train heat pump fitters to fit all of these heat pumps. I don't think that's going to happen, not unless the government forces people to get shot at the gas boilers. And well, if that's the case, what about the gas boiler people? Can they not? If you can do a gas boiler, right, pressurized system, using a hydrocarbon, you can do a heat pump, comparatively low pressure water system with a few electrics to drive the pump. Comparatively, I know it's a bit more complicated than that. If you take away with one hand, you're giving with the other. Okay, we're going to train all these people to be heat pump fitters. Who were all the gas lads doing all the? Are they going to make it that you've got to rip them out? What about all the new houses being built? Basically, the whole housing stock of the UK, a large percentage of it runs on gas central heating. There is some people in the country areas that use oil central heating. And he talked about this thing, GB Energy, a new company. Okay. New private company or a new government company? So it's going to be like a British energy company, GB Energy. Is the government going to have shares in it? Is the government going to run it? Or is the government just going to encourage other people to be GB Energy? And then when it makes a profit, just squeeze the nuts and get as much out of it as they can. Which is what they're doing with the oil and gas companies now. Oh, you're making too much profit. All them years when they made an out and the price of oil was like next to out. They pay a higher corporation tax, oil and gas. I think they pay 40%. It's going up to 25% for most companies next year. I think the oil companies already pay 40%. Then they've had 30% added on. Yeah, but they've made huge profits this year. Whose fault is that? The way that the system's set up. Oil is a global commodity. If you don't land it in the UK and sell it in the UK, take the Rotterdam, sell it there. Do you honestly think that you can force people? Well, you can, you're the government, you can do what you want. You're not getting any companies to spend any money for. There's heaps of reserves in the North Sea. Still, they're reluctant to take them out. Other companies will be doing it. Other countries, Norway is still doing it. And they just put a big field in there last year, the year before. It's taken out 500,000 barrels a day. They just signed a new contract with Gasline to Poland. Norway's still taking oil and gas out. Britain seems to be now we've got to be zero carbon and stuff like that. He says by doing this, there'll be a new foundation for prosperity. If the company's profitable, Yeah, I'll agree with that. I cannot say how it will be though, because you'll be competing against other companies. Where are you going to get the money from? The setup costs. How are you going to fund it? What happens if it makes a loss? I don't know. It's unfair. I'd need to see what he's saying. She's been all over the country with Rachel Reeves. I'm not too sure if Twackle Reeves or Rachel Reeves. I'll say Rachel. With Rachel Reeves. Says they've been finding out what the companies need, growth, blah, blah, blah. Says the country needs growth. That's what the country needs, growth. Time machine. Let's just whiz back to the back end of 2022 when the trust mistress was in charge. What did she say? The country needs growth. I need to make the pizza bigger. Bah, humbug. Ooh, you're going to crush the economy. Get out of here. How are you going to do it? I'm going to borrow more money. Get out, get out. LDI, the pound down, this up. Whoa. 30 days, 45. Can I stay in longer than the lettuce or Brian Clough at Leeds? That you can't. Boom. That's what she said. She said, growth. It's blatantly obvious. They all come back. They all sing the same songs. Growth, 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 growth. Why? Why is it growth? Because it hides everything. If you can become more productive with the people that you've got, but what it really means is growth. How do you get growth? Increase the population. That'll get growth. If you double the UK's population from 70 million to 140, the economy will be bigger. Will each person have more money? Will they have a better standard of living? I'm not too sure about that. But he just said growth. When people hear that, they think, oh, my pay packet will be bigger. I'll be able to buy more. I'll be able to move up from an Escort to a Cortina. You can see where I grew up, can't you? Like I say, the trust mistress, that's what she said. We need high standards, better public services. Yeah, who would disagree? Needs to be a sunny day. We need to have a big fluffy bath towel on the beach. Yeah, I agree with that. And we need to create more wealth, be more competitive. Then he bashed the Tories again. Give them a kick and get at the Tories. By the end of the first term, that will be after 5 years. So that will be by 2029 if the election is next year, 2024 had 5, that's 2029. We want to have, this is his measurable goal. I'm just wondering if I can get on the phone to laddies and see if I can get the odds on this. By the end of the first term in 5 years, 2029, he's going to have the highest growth in the G7. Woo-hoo! Sustainable growth. The G7, just for you non-G70 people, is, I believe, is the United States, Canada, Japan, France, Germany, and I believe Italy. I think that's the G7.